The build for AEW All In looks to be exceptional, but the build for Blood and Guts looks to be anything but. Welcome to Allison Analysis, the show where I rate wrestling shows using only emojis. We kicked off AEW Dynamite with a promo package showing what MJF said on this past week's Collision. A lot of fans didn't get to see MJF's promo on Collision due to Money in the Bank being on the same time, so this was a really smart decision to show this. Gets a thumbs up from me. Will Ospreay then came out with a point to prove and delivered a brilliant promo. Also, this is a bit of a small thing, but I love it when wrestlers don't just stand in the middle of the ring and cut a promo, and instead, find a different area of the ring, like Will Ospreay just, sat on the turnbuckle. I thought it was really brilliant. It's a small detail, but the fact that, it just looks a little bit visually different means fans are engaged from the start and are drawn into it. The passion from Ospreay was truly brilliant during this, and he is so underrated on the mic. The one thing I was confused about was when Ospreay brought up the bidding war of 2024 and how it failed for MJF. I mean, in kayfabe, didn't it work? MJF's pre-recorded promo which followed it I thought was good, it did its job, and I'm really glad we got the cocky MJF back, even if I do think it happened probably a little bit too early. MJF versus Ospreay being announced for next week's episode of AEW Dynamite just seems absolutely ridiculous to me, so I'm presuming it's just going to be an angle and they'll do the match at a later date, or at least I hope that's what's going to happen. But overall, this opening segment gets a subtle round of applause from me. Danielson versus Hangman Page in the Owen Hart Cup final was up next, and boy oh boy was this special. This was truly money. The one thing I was confused about is why, from a kayfabe perspective, Jeff Jarrett was the referee, or the special enforcer, I should say. It just didn't really make too much sense to me. But before I get into the match itself, Nigel McGuinness on commentary, he is so good, he is so funny, especially in Bryan Danielson matches, and I'm so glad he was on commentary for Dynamite last night. From the moment the bell did ring, though, it was a money match between these two, and would we expect anything less? This gimmick change for Hangman Page was so needed, and he really does feel like a star again right now. Danielson's selling during the match was exceptional. I mean, I don't think he gets enough credit for how great of a seller he is, because he just hasn't done it that much in AEW. We also just haven't really seen Danielson as the underdog too often in AEW either, but that is when he's at his best, and he was the underdog in this match, and it was brilliant. The only negative is I thought blood was used maybe a little bit too early in this match, but that's literally the only negative thing I have to say about it. The finish was a roll-up, and I know they've been criticized for doing too many roll-ups in this tournament, and to be honest, that's a valid point, but it's Danielson, it makes sense, and I didn't mind it in this, isolated situation, but there have been too many roll-ups in this tournament. I am quite surprised we're getting Danielson versus Swerve at All In, but at the end of the day, I still think long-term it'll be Swerve versus Hangman, and I'm okay with them leaving a little bit more time between their matches. Following on from this, we had a good promo from Swerve. It gets a thumbs up from me, and it laid the groundwork for his feud with Danielson. I loved how he called this new era of AEW Dynamite the Dynasty era, with him, Ospreay, and Okada as the three faces of it. We haven't spoken too much about eras yet in AEW because it's, not been around for too long, but since 2024, it really has felt like a different era. But I do have something I want to talk about, which unfortunately is a little bit negative. Honestly, Blood and Guts feels completely pointless this year. Sure, Team AEW versus the Elite makes a lot of sense on paper, but since Christopher Daniels has arrived, it's kind of felt like the Elite have lost all their power. It should feel like a power struggle, but it very simply doesn't. Blood and Guts is meant to be a conclusive ending to a big feud between two factions, and for so many years AEW did a great job with this. But this year they just haven't. Swerve being in it is very confusing too. Unless Danielson joins in on the same team and there'll be some tensions, perhaps that's what they're going to do. But it just feels like it's taking away from the Swerve and Danielson feud. If Hangman had won the Owen, then this match might make a little bit more sense, because Hangman could be forced to join it to get his hands on Swerve a bit early, and yeah, you could, play off that rivalry. You could kill two birds with one stone. But he didn't win the Owen. He's not the match at All In. I'm trying to make sense of this, but I very simply can't. In my opinion, they should have just moved this to later in the year and instead used this time for the Owen Hart tournament, because that tournament went by way too fast, and now Blood and Guts feels rushed too. They don't need to rush everything, they can take their time and they can take a deep breath. But on a more positive note, up next, the Acclaim's rap on the Young Bucks was hilarious. It'll get a thumbs up. I do think the Acclaimed are going to need a bit of a gimmick change soon, just a little bit of one, just to freshen them up, because they are getting a bit stale. But this segment, this was brilliant. The street fight between Chris Jericho and Samoa Joe was so stupidly excellent. It was really fun. The learning tree gimmick is once again proving why it's just completely revived Chris Jericho's career. The only thing is, I think the ending could have looked a little bit better because it really did not look like Samoa Joe got hurt, did it? Up next, we had Pac versus Claudio versus Carl Fletcher versus Tomohiro Ishii, and this fatal four-way was epic. Sure, the match was a bit random, but it was also crazy, and I love the incentive that the winner got an international championship opportunity. At the end of the day, wrestling is meant to be fun. AEW is meant to be fun, and this match was certainly a lot of fun. So you know what? This match, it can take my money. But from money to Monet, Mercedes Moné came out for a championship toast. And I'm going to be honest, Monet's promo felt like it was just killing time until Britt Baker came out. And when she did come out, well, it was all a bit pointless, wasn't it? She just ran out and then it was the end of the segment, basically. I mean, it didn't really advance anything. It kind of felt like a waste of time. It was really advertised and promoted as a big segment, and it just really was not that. I mean, it wasn't necessarily bad, but it just didn't really do anything. I mean, to be honest with you, I just don't care for it. In the main event, Mariah May took on Willow in the Owen Hart Cup tournament final. I'm a big fan of both Willow and Mariah May, but at the end of the day, us Arsenal fans do stick together, so I was mad about Mariah in this one. And it was a really enjoyable main event with Mariah May getting the win. It'll get a subtle round of applause from me. Fantastic end to AEW Dynamite. The only complaint I have is it's another roll-up finish. And I fully understand it's a tribute to Owen Hart, right? But from a kayfabe perspective, you can't justify suddenly for 3 weeks a year all your talent throughout the tournament losing via roll-up pins, right? Why don't they work the other, 10 months of the year, 11 months of the year? It makes no sense, right? I understand it's a tribute, and if it was just the final 2 matches, I would have actually loved it. But there was too many roll-ups in this tournament. Anyway, Mariah May got the dub, and after her win, she took out Toni Storm. She turned on Timeless Toni. And I'm going to be honest, I did not expect this to happen this early. I thought it would happen in a few weeks' time, but I'm glad it did happen now because it was a brilliant moment, but also now they have a lot of time to build towards their match at All In. But unfortunately for Toni Storm, Toni time is over, and it is time to be mad about Mariah. Mariah May will win the AEW Women's Championship in Wembley Stadium and foreshadow Arsenal winning the FA Cup there next season. Come on! At least I'm being hopeful. But yeah, this turn was done exceptionally well, and it can take my money. And overall, this episode of AEW Dynamite can actually take my money because apart from the Monet segment, everything was brilliant. The 2 Owen Hart matches were absolute bangers, and the Fatal 4-Way was epic. The Mariah May heel turn was done exceptionally well, and I cannot wait to see what's next for her and Toni Storm. And overall, the road to AEW All In looks really good. I'm really excited for it, even if I'm not too excited for AEW Blood and Guts. Thank you for watching this episode. If you did enjoy, please leave a thumbs up and comment your thoughts on the show down below. And also, if you like these types of videos, if you like wrestling news, if you like daily wrestling podcasts, then please hit subscribe to us here at Wrestling Republic. I'll see you in the next one. Peace!